It sounds like you guys have had an absolute nightmare with it. We've been talking to the ACDA, who are based in Oklahoma, and they've really had a hard time with it as well. Huge power cuts and everything.
Yes, we did have to deal with power outage, but I mean that was the brunt of it for us, and one tree down in our backyard.
You guys have had an absolute. Well, it's good. It's good to have you with us. Thank you for joining us. So we are now live on YouTube, and so hello to everybody who's watching the session on YouTube. For those who haven't, for whom this is the first session, my name is Tori Longdon, and I am one half of the Stay at Home Choir, together with the wonderful Jamie Wright, who is also here.
Hello.
And we are joined by Charlotte Mobbs, who is a fantastic singer with the 16. Now, we've been very lucky. The 16 have been hugely supportive of the Stay at Home Choir over the last few months. And we worked with them closely back in April for the James McMillan project on O Radiant Dawn. And now we are working with John Rutter on Christmas, and we are able to have the expertise of Charlie. So the way this is going to work is we've got about 15 people here in the Zoom with us, and we're going to open out the discussion a little bit. But mostly Charlie has a list of questions that you guys all submitted. I know that there were more than 100 questions submitted for you, Charlie. So we'll be wading through some of those tonight. And also there'll be a chance for you guys to post in the chat if you have any others. So without further ado, I'm going to pass over to Charlie, who hopefully will just give us a quick rundown of her sort of life and career, not in too much detail, and then kick off with some questions. Charlie, hi.
Hello. Well, thank you so much for having me. It's a real pleasure to be able to be here and chatting to you all. Quick rundown of my career. I was a member of the National Youth Choir of Great Britain, sang in my local church choir, all that kind of thing. And then went to music college in Cardiff and did my undergraduate there, and decided that I didn't want to go to London, so moved up to Scotland and did my postgrad up there, and got some amazing opportunities singing in masterclasses with various conductors. I always kind of knew that I wanted to do choral stuff or consort stuff. That was really sort of where my heart lied, and still is, to be honest. I love being a small part of a wonderful whole, put it that way. Not a hole in the ground, a whole, a whole part. So I was very lucky to have been put forward to audition for Sir John Eliot Gardiner, and took part in his Bach Cantata Pilgrimage Year in 2000, which was absolutely extraordinary, and an absolute career and life highlight, just singing Bach every week. In many times in the places that it was written for, the particular cantatas were written for, was wonderful. I learned so much, absolutely amazing. And I happened to be sat one day next to the fixer of the 16, and he suddenly took a phone call and was like, oh no. And I said, oh, you're all right, Mike. And he said, don't suppose you're free this weekend, are you? Well, yeah, I am actually. He said, do you want to come to Ireland with us with the 16? We've got 2 concerts there in Belfast. I was like, yeah, okay. When's the rehearsal? Oh no, there's no rehearsal. Okay, yeah, fine. Turned up, and I don't know how many of you know the piece, the work by Britten called Sacred and Profane, but it is really hard.
Oh,
it's
no.
really, really hard. And we had 2 different programs, one on each day, and we got the programs around the wrong way. So we did not rehearse Sacred and Profane before the concert. Everybody else knew it in the group, and they were used to singing it together. I, however, was not. And I looked at my colleague Julie Cooper, who is still my colleague now, and she just looked at me and she went, just sing. So I said, okay. And that's what I did. And I sang, and I sort of stood and thought, wow, what an amazing sound around me, and what a lovely thing to be part of, an amazing opportunity. And now X number, 20 nearly years later, I'm still a regular member of the 16, and very much missing singing live. We've had a few things. We've been filming a new series, our Choral Odyssey series, which you can sign up to online, which is amazing, with Simon Russell Beale as well. So you can learn about the music as well as hearing us sing it. So that's been amazing to have been a part of that. You know, just aren't we lucky to have wonderful things like Stay at Home Choir to be able to continue our singing. That's the one thing I say, just keep singing. Keep singing. It's so important, especially as we get older and things start to calcify a little. It's really important to keep everything moving so that we keep the you know, the movement there, so that we keep the freedom and the flexibility and no loss of range, etc. All those things that as we get a little bit older, we all begin to worry about a little. I've got a few tips for that a bit later on. But
Yok bir şey kızım. Her zamanki şeyler. Galiba atıştık yine.
I'm just going to make sure that everybody's on mute there. Charlie, I'm going to hit the magic mute button so that people aren't able to accidentally unmute themselves. So, Charlie, you're going to need to unmute yourself in just a moment.
Okay. There we go.
Lovely. And what I was going to say was, and keep the joy in singing, and not become disheartened as you change, especially if you've not been singing for months and months. Finding that joy in your singing and just keeping going, like Charlie just said, just sing. You know, and to kick things off, we had a lovely question from Kathy, who's English, I think, but living in France. Am I right, Kathy? And it refers particularly to this joyful piece that we're working on at the moment, which is John Rutter's Star Carol.
It is. Hi, yes, that's right. I am British, but I've been living in France for the last couple of years now. But my question for Charlotte, firstly, I'm so in awe the fact that you were able to sight read that piece of music. Hail to you.
Well, you know, it's easier to sight read when you're in a choir and you're part of something and you can hear what's going on around you. There's nothing worse than, you know, someone suddenly handing you a piece of music, saying, "Go on then, sight read," and you're all on your own and you've got no idea what's going on. And also when you're sort of cushioned by this amazing ensemble, and you know that whatever happens, they're going to be right, and so you just, you know, you just go with the flow. It's and also you just believe in yourself.
Yeah.
Sight reading is so much of it is believing in yourself and trusting in your instincts, very much so.
I have to say, through the virtual choir experience that we've had with Stay at Home Choir, I can't sight read, but I think I can more than I think. I can certainly follow the music, but if I was given something new to sing, I wouldn't be able to. But once the music starts playing, you kind of know where it's going to go. But my question for you, Charlotte, some of the songs we're asked to sing require long phrases. And I've not had any vocal training at all, and my lung did actually collapse some time ago. So I wondered if you had any tips or techniques or exercises that that we could use to increase our breath control so that we can actually sing those wonderful long phrases. Obviously, in a choir like this one, where there are thousands of us, we can stagger the breathing, which is what we're encouraged to do. But I'd actually like to learn how to sing those wonderfully long phrases without going blue in the face.
Or falling over. Absolutely. So there's a couple of things here. And I've got a couple of props here. This has a really like scientific name that I don't know. I call it my breathing ball. I don't know what its scientific name is. Anyway, so I use this a lot to show the expansion of your lungs as you're breathing. So just gives you, quite often if you just have a visual as well. So these are also brilliant, sponges. Okay, so let's see if I can get it in a good place. Right in front of my face is probably the best place. So this is great for, if you hold it tight, it's like this, and then so you're blowing your air out, squeezing it, and then as you release, it springs back into action and is full of air. All these tiny bubbles, holes, are like all the holes in our lungs. Okay, so these are really good. Normally I have 2, and so a great breathing exercise is to literally blow out your air until you have nothing left. Keep making sure you're keeping your posture, you're keeping your shoulders level, and you're not collapsing as you get to the end of the breath. It's really tempting to want to go, oh, I can just get a little bit more out, but you absolutely must not do that, because then you're like this. It's really hard work to get back to where we need to be. Okay, so we're blowing our air out till we have nothing left at all, and then we're going to allow the air to come in when the sponge springs out. So we're literally going to just release. Our abdominal wall will have come in slightly. We're not pulling it in, we're not holding it. It will automatically do that, okay? And so what we then want is, some people call it a recoil breath, a belly breath, different things. The air does not go into your belly, absolutely. Goes into your lungs. Some people get confused when we say belly, people call it a belly breath. It's like, it's only called that because of the recoil in those muscles and the front, those abs.
Release.
Okay. Yeah, so the abs release, and what happens then is that the diaphragm comes down, it acts like a vacuum, and the air comes in. Okay, we don't think about breathing 999 breaths in the day, percent of breaths. We do not think about our breathing. It's the most natural thing that happens. But weirdly, as soon as we get given some music or gets given something else, then we panic about it. I'd say breathing is the thing that most singers worry about. And actually, it's the most natural action. What we do when we sing, we have a thing called, it's a resting rate, basically. So when we're breathing normally, our breath is coming up above that. Sometimes, if we're running or doing exercise, we go down below it, ever so slightly. When we're singing, we take ourselves down below it quite a bit. And our bodies don't like it, and our brains don't like it. So we send a message saying, oh, panic, panic, panic. But actually, we need to get used to being in that place and allowing ourselves to use that much air, because we're just not used to it day to day. I'm not thinking at all about the breath that I'm taking before I'm speaking, and yet I'm speaking for a rather long time without actually stopping and taking a breath at all, aren't I? And even when I do stop, I'm taking a tiny breath and I'm still not thinking about my breathing. So here's a tip. If you find a phrase that you're worried about, okay, so I'm going to say, for example, see this star shining bright in the sky this Christmas night. Okay, practice saying it at an approximately the correct pitch as singing it. Obviously, you won't get quite so high in your speech voice, but for sopranos, let's just do, see this star shining bright in the sky this Christmas night. No problem. Okay, I realise that's not a particularly long phrase, but practice your long phrases like that. If you can speak it, you can sing it. Okay, we don't need to use lots of air. Okay, we always speak about air as being mileage. Okay, so we don't want, it's like going back to the old Italian school, where they used to, my old choir master did this when I was about 7 or 8. They used to put a candle in front of you when you were singing, and if the candle went out, you're using too much air. So these days we don't do things like that. We have amazing straws and such for using for semi-occluded vocal tract exercises, SOVT exercises, which are amazing, and I can highly recommend. If you, you can just, I normally have one here, but you can
Amy's got one.
Excellent. Mine's in my teaching bag, which is out there.
It was on you, Jamie.
You can.
My store is around the corner.
Oh,
You'll see me wearing it at some point. It's my little necklace.
That was around your neck. That's raw, amazing. So they're really great for showing actually how little air you need. Okay, it's a common mistake thinking I need a load of air to do this. Actually, you don't. Actually, you don't. Just do this for me. We're going to just do a siren. Sing. Okay, it has to be from I, not from sing, and we're going to just go sing up and down in your own speaking voice. Okay, ready? And sing. Did you think much about the breath that you took in before you did that? Did you make a nice sound? Did you make an easy sound? Yes. Did you make that sound for quite a long time? Exactly. So the siren is your best friend. Okay, this was going to be one of my top tips. A siren a day. Okay, if you can't sing, then siren. A couple of sirens, do it in the shower, do it as you're walking along the street, behind a mask, nobody can hear. I do them on the train, but the mask's my new best friend on the train if I have to go on the train, because nobody can hear. It's brilliant. And it's just a really great way of getting everything working and getting your vocal folds meeting together nicely, really good clean contact, and getting all the way up through your range and realising that you can make that sound without chucking a whole load of air at it. And later I'll tell you how we can then put the siren into various exercises to do different things as well. I hope that helps a little bit.
Oh, sorry, am I up? No, I'm not. I'm full of motivational phrases, Charlie. If you can speak it, you can sing it. And exactly. A siren a day. I'll be pinning that to my fridge.
Yeah. Siren a day is a new one that's only come out during lockdown, and I absolutely love it, and I swear by it as well. And if professional singers like me, we're all of a sudden someone's saying, "Oh, can you come? We've got a 4-hour filming session where you're singing for 4 hours, having theoretically not sung for 6 months." You just can't do that. You can't do that. Your body will not do that. So that's why a few sirens, keep the sirens going, keep the mechanism working always. And as you get older, like I said, things do start to calcify. And so we want to keep that movement. We want to keep the larynx able to move and able to do what it needs to do in order to get right to the top of our range and also right to the bottom without feeling like there's any pressure there at all.
Yeah, absolutely. And Charlie, we sent the questions over to you earlier on. Did you have any that you noticed that you thought, yes, I really want to jump into that one? Is there anybody you'd particularly like to hear from, or Charlie?
Let me have a little think. Oh goodness!
I've got it here in front of me if you want me to.
Yes. Well, do you know what? They were all great questions, to be honest. So let me see. The breathing one is really, that is really important for everybody, isn't it? Because like I said, everybody worries about that. So someone asked about clear text for sopranos, which is something dear to my heart, being a soprano.
Yeah, Rachel, are you in the Zoom with us today? Oh, I need to do that.
There we go. Yes.
Hi, Rachel.
Hi. Yes, it's just advice or some tips on, particularly when you're as a soprano in your upper register, articulating words, because where I am at the moment, I feel like you can either have one or the other. You can't have both. And so, we found this in the Ode to Joy. That was really quite high. And listening back to my recording, I was like, did I actually say any words? You know, what should I focus on? Should I focus on the consonants, on vowel sounds, or should I just, what do I do?
Okay, so I mean, Ode to Joy is one of the extremes, isn't it? I mean, wonderfully joyful, of course, but incredibly hard work, incredibly hard work.
Mhm.
And I do feel I'm going to contradict myself here, and I do feel that there are times when other people can put in a little bit more work for you, when you're doing something quite as extreme as Freud, you know, up there. It's not there, up there. I better not do it because I've got a little one in bed and he'll give him nightmares. But so I do feel that at that point there are other sections that could, you know, we're in a team, we're all in this together, so they can give a little bit at that moment, and we'll give a little bit back at another moment. But that's maybe not the time for us to have to worry too much about text. What I would say is something like that, where we're not talking about that piece right now, but a word like Freude, joyful, get the F and R in early, Freude, so that the audience will hear it that way. So I was going to talk a little bit about singing in the upper parts of your ranges. I would say that the main thing is to not over widen your mouth, okay? Because remember, we need our articulators. So we need our lips, we need our tongue, and also we need every part of our tongue. We need the tip, and we need the very, very back of the dorsum as well for things like g, k, g, 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 k, all of those. I mean, Jamie in his beatboxing will be able to tell you all of, you know, all of this. What they do is absolutely extraordinary. So for me, the important part in this is the tongue, okay? The tongue and the jaw will always go in partner. So if you have a tight jaw, you will have a tight tongue. If you have a tight tongue, you'll have a tight jaw. They come together, okay? So a couple of exercises to loosen them off, just a little massage here, always lovely. So another thing that I have found through lockdown, mainly through trying to homeschool, I have to say, is that I realise how much tension, how much anxiety I hold here, we all hold here. And there would be times when I'd be going, oh, and then I think, oh my goodness, that's it. So just be aware of that. Every time, I've made myself a promise that every time I made a cup of tea, kettle goes on, and I did this. And I brought my awareness to it. And I also did a little tongue roll. Every time I made a cup of tea, to release the root of my tongue. Okay, really, really important. There's also another one which I really like, where your tongue comes up and onto the roof of your mouth and really slides. It's like it's a brush brushing the top of your mouth, and you can sort of say yeah, yeah, that kind of sound. And yes, another great thing for the tongue is if it's a siren, but with your tongue out. How many people find their siren is improved by that? I definitely do. Yeah, the tongue out.
And something, we had a session with Ginevra last week, and one of the really interesting things she said is that there's a great benefit from lots of frequent small bits of practice.
Yes, absolutely. So I mean, with this the tongue stuff as well, it's little bits, because we don't want to work those muscles. We're not trying to build the muscles. We're trying to release any tensions. And that's really important. So some you may think you're doing a great job by doing 20 this way, 20 that way, 19, 19, 18, 18, but you're actually working the muscles rather than releasing any kind of anything that's being held. So just, like I say, kettle on, a little siren, kettle on, a little this, you know, it's really a great way to sort of click, bring your awareness, click, bring your awareness.
Yeah. And when we're talking about how to sort of be flexible and agile up in the top register, I think Stacey had a lovely question, which was more about colour and tone rather than text particularly. Stacey, what was it you wanted to ask Charlotte?
Oh, there we go. Am I unmuted now?
You're fine. We can hear you.
Okay.
Hi, Stacey.
Yes, I was thinking really about how I particularly have a tendency to sing quite heavily. I think I tend to lean into vibrato. I don't know if this is a soprano thing, but I would like to be able to lighten my tone for the Star Carol and bring really this sort of light and airy sense to it and sort of anticipatory expressiveness. And so I was looking for techniques of how to do that.
Great. So a couple of different things that you can try here. This is a great one. I find, so what we're looking here is to get a kind of bouncy ball feeling. So hold your ball, and we're just going to do to an E sound. Just that much. Ready? Now, how about if we turn our hand around and bounce our ball upwards instead of down? There's our note. How many found that a lighter? Did you feel that it felt in a different place in your body? Yeah, it feels a bit more up here, doesn't it, rather than down in here.
Yes, I definitely feel it up. When we rose the ball up, it was so much better and lighter.
Isn't that amazing? Isn't it a wonderful thing? So we're constantly juggling the sound. Yeah. So that's something that I've really found really helpful when I need to. The other thing is to then put your energy into the text. Okay, really put your energy through the text. I've been very lucky to have actually, I think I'm right in saying that I recorded this piece with John Rutter with the Cambridge Singers. We did a whole load of CDs about 10, 15 years ago. And I think this was one of the pieces with orchestra. And, you know, John is so passionate about the text that, you know, let's put our passion there as well and put our real intent into the text. So if we can get this going, this lighter tone, and then add in the text and really, really feel like you're there, and with the engagement in the face, because you cannot sing, see this star shining bright. It doesn't matter how much energy I put into my body, I can't, it's just, oh, it's bubbling up inside me trying to get out. See this star shining bright. Yeah, he does it for us. He's a brilliant composer, you know. He does it all for us. We just have to allow that to happen. So that's your practice, that bouncing. Any exercise like that, practice. It's really good to do it the other way first, to feel the difference then when you do it this way.
Love a little bit of negative practice.
Exactly.
And Charlie, what about those octave leaps that we've got?
Yes. So a couple of different things. I like to turn this on its head. So, see star shining bright in the sky. So we'll practice it that way. See and then we turn it back. Let's just do it once, shall we? We've got time to do this, I think. Ready? And see star shining bright in the sky. Okay, so that's our placement. That's where we're starting from. C. We're not starting from C, because that's too heavy and we will not get up there. Okay, we just won't get there. So see the star shining bright. So bring that bottom note to the top note. Don't drag those top notes down to the bottom note. Okay, this will also help, Stacey, with the slightly lighter quality that we're looking for as well. Bring those top notes, bring the bottom notes closer to the top notes in feel, where you feel the sound.
Mike Parrott had a lovely question, particularly about brightness with regards to the lower voices. Mike, are you with us?
Yes, thanks, Charlotte. I'm not sure if bright is the same as light. Perhaps you've already answered the question, but and also I'm not quite sure if it applies just for lower voices. Possibly it does more than for ladies. But I mean, I don't think I'm singing flat, though my choir members may think otherwise. But I do feel that sometimes my voice is, how can I put it, sort of somber. And I'd like to make it brighter. And blimey, if this carol doesn't shout out for brightness, what does? So I think it's finding a way of maybe resonating more, as well as not just being lighter, but having a certain depth and a shine to my voice. And I think I find it not necessarily in the very top notes. Maybe I'm okay when I get there. It's more when I'm approaching. Perhaps when I'm approaching the high register, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
And trying to get that, sort of, keep it bright around there, and that's anything help with that.
Absolutely. So this is a really common thing, and actually it can also be for some sopranos as they get older as well, and they feel like their voices are getting a bit darker in tone. So and tenors, let's not miss them out, although they're over there, aren't they? And of course altos. So it applies to everybody. So I've got a really great exercise. What we want to do, we want to really make sure that our soft palate is active, okay? Because I will sing a note for you. I hope this will come across on Zoom. Okay, that is in tune. It's just a bit dull and a bit dark. Is the same note, but sung with my soft palate raised. Okay, so how many people have been told in any lessons or by a conductor or whatever, well, raise your soft palate, sing with your soft palate raised. Well, how on earth do you do that? How do you do that? You can't see it, so how do you do it? So here's a way of doing it. Say for me, hingi, with a really strong gi. So what's happening here is the soft palate is coming down to meet the tongue, and as it comes apart, gi. So in order to make the g sound, that's what happens. So we can then do this on any notes you would like. So okay, and we can then go if there's a particular part then of your voice that you're feeling like you'd like a little bit more of that in it, then let's just go over those notes. So say for example it were a G A B,
Yeah, actually, and that's the kind of thing that I would, just from a personal practice perspective, gosh, a triple P, I would use that to look at the octaves in the refrain in Star Carol. Because what you want is you want to match the brightness of the top octave to the bottom octave. So you're going, I don't know where we are. Where are we? Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you could start with a lovely, bright, pingy, gee, gee, and get that release and that pingy explosion on the bottom note, and then match it up to the top. All of these, it's like pick and mix. All of these exercises can be mixed and matched, and play around with how they work together to help you work over those tricky passages.
Absolutely. Someone has put, I've noticed in the chat, to envisage a hot potato in the mouth, which is great. The only thing I would say is that with that we have the danger of the tongue coming down to make that space. But what that actually does, when the tongue comes down and back, it takes up part of our pharyngeal space. So we actually end up losing space. We might gain it in the mouth, but we lose it in the pharynx, which is where we actually really, really need it. So the tongue needs to be forward with the hot potato sort of almost behind it, if that's an image that works for you. But this exercise, gi, 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 hingi, singi, all of these, anything with that really hard g, and it has to be a hard g. The harder you can get it, the more you're working that, which is really fantastic.
I have found that this exercise has revolutionized my singing. I use it a lot, and I think it is no coincidence that the word sing is so good for practicing singing.
Absolutely, absolutely. The S gets the air flowing, so we know there's nothing blocking it in the down in the larynx. The ing gets the tongue in the perfect position, nice and forward, and relatively high as well at the back for us. And then that ng, it's just great for the palate as well.
It's another one to pin to your fridge, ladies and gentlemen. We've got 3 from Charlotte so far. Go on, Charlotte. Were there any other questions that particularly jumped out to you, or shall I spin my magic spinner?
Yeah, go on, you spin.
Let's see. We've actually, Fred, was there anything else you wanted to add about your question about tension in the lower jaw, or have we covered most of it in what Charlie mentioned earlier on?
I think we've covered quite a lot of it. Yeah, it's really back here that I find it tenses up my throat when I want to get up to those higher notes.
Particularly on the higher register, you say?
Yeah.
Try and find a way to keep that jaw from getting involved with a higher register. Have you got any tips for that, Charlotte?
So lots and lots of the siren practice, taking you up there, taking you up into that place, and then opening up from the siren, sing, and keeping everything in the same place. There's a slight danger with tenors to do this a little bit. And we have to be really careful of that, because this is our instrument. Well, this is where the sound is made. If we do that, we're actually coming down onto the larynx and we're preventing it from being able to move. Our larynx does rise with pitch and we need to allow it to do that. Okay, and if we head down a little, then we're pushing down on it and we're not allowing it to do it. So therefore we're not able to reach our full range. So I often say, give your body something else to do, then it won't do this. So give yourself a shoulder wrap, or a figure of 8 if you fancy doing a figure of 8, one of these. If you've got a Pilates ball, they are wonderful for sitting on it, just rocking a little bit from side to side whilst you're singing. And it just takes away the desire to do this, because what it's an effort thing. You're trying really hard, which is fantastic, but let's put the effort somewhere else.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And Charlotte, once we get up there, how on earth do we keep that tension at bay? Siobhan had a very interesting question. Siobhan, are you with us today? She leaps for the unmute button. Hi.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, yes. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Great. It's great to be included. What I wondered is that technically I'm a first soprano, and it's how to sing those top notes quietly and with confidence, because I feel such a wimp singing them on my own in the house with two cats and being a bit worried about my neighbours because I'm in a mid-terrace cottage. Is how to achieve that purity that I envy when I hear people like you sing beautifully. How do I even attempt that? I'm not a spring chicken, but my voice is still in reasonably good nick, but it hasn't really been anywhere for 6 months like everybody else. I'll stop now.
That's okay. No, it's great. It's such a good question because you know, it speaks to all of us. I think it doesn't matter whether you're a professional singer or just coming to this for the first time, or that you sing in normally with singing choral societies or whatever. You know, really, it speaks to all of us. And so there were a couple of things that I really had to think about this, because I think the confidence thing is really important. And one of the first things I thought was, do you know what I would do? I would put on my favourite recording of whatever piece, whack it on full volume, and I put myself in the middle of the choir. I would imagine that I was in the middle of that sound, and I would sing as if my colleagues were next to me, here and here. To allow yourself that freedom, allow yourself to do that. I know it's difficult when you've got neighbours and things. We just have to be mindful of time. But do you know what? I expect your neighbours probably sat thinking, how lovely, that's so lovely to hear. I mean, what a joyous thing to hear. You know, during lockdown, I could hear various instruments and things going on in my neighbourhood, and I was just, oh, that's so wonderful. So, you know, and we have to just take that on board. So that was one thing that I thought that I would do. I would put my recording of the Messiah on, and I'd sing along with "For unto us a child is born" or something with my colleagues. So the next thing, I've said it a lot already, I'm going to say it again, is that siren. Siren, 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 okay? Because it just takes us up there, it gives us confidence. We need confidence in ourselves, in our own abilities. I often do the solo in the Allegri Miserere with 16, the one with the top C. When I'm practicing it and when I'm warming up for a concert, I will sing up to a top D, so that I know that when I stand there and have the score in front of me and I've got to sing it and the audience is there, I know that I can do it. I know I've got it. Okay? So much of it is about giving you the confidence. So there's something like the siren, all of these exercises, the Ngi exercise, all of those will, if you can put them into your practice and use them in the piece as well, practice the piece to the siren. I always do that. And what you're doing is you're working in this kind of memory into the muscles, but also into your brain that goes, oh yeah, I can do this. I can absolutely do this. Now, when we're singing quietly, never take anything away. Okay, we're not looking to go, okay, well, I need to get rid of that and that and that in order to sing quietly. I always think, someone's put it's mental as much mental. Absolutely, 100%, absolutely. I love this image of having this. I got into trouble for saying this in a Glasgow choir. Well, not trouble, but this wonderful golden ball. So a ball of concentrate, golden, beautiful, sparkly shininess. So we have our sound, and we're bringing it in to this concentrate. So nothing gets taken away. It's still there. The space is still here. The airflow is still there. The core of our sound is still there, but it's just really concentrate. And you can practice singing. There are two different ways you can practice coming from a bigger sound to a smaller sound. One of them is this. Let's see if I can do it today. A bit late in the day for me. So that's my smaller sound. Didn't take anything away. Equally, you can start like this. Different things work. Yes, David. Oh, excellent. Someone was there. David Beckham comment. Absolutely. That was the golden balls. So, different things work for different people. Try them out. Try this one. I think of it like a golden snitch, you know, from Harry Potter. That's kind of the image that I have in my mind with that. This one is brilliant for. I know a conductor in America who actually conducts his choir like this, and they have the most extraordinarily beautiful diminuendo and crescendo. So have a go at playing around with those two.
The thing that I love about the way that you physicalize that second one with your hands going to a wider flat position is that you're not losing any space actually in that sound, that you're actually widening and thinning the sound out as you spread it over the same amount of area, which I think, you know, it actually shines through beautifully in your voice when we hear you demonstrate it as well, Charlotte.
Good. Yes. So these are your vocal folds at that point. So this is us giving really good thick. The chords are meeting really well, like this, and then we're going to onto the thin edge of the chord where it's meeting just like this. So that is what I'm showing there.
And it's amazing how much physicalization can actually have a translating effect onto what's going on inside your vocal apparatus, even though, you know, you're trying essentially to train something that you can't see and you can't observe, but it's still an athletic thing.
Exactly that. So much, you know, and whilst imagery is wonderful and works for some people, it doesn't work for everybody. We all have different ways of learning, and different things work for different people. So that's why I often like to give a couple of different ways, because one of those ways will speak to you. Possibly all three will speak to you, but if at least one of them speaks to you, then that's wonderful, and we've got some options there to try out and find out what works best for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, a little birdie told me in the chat that Maggie was actually in the room when you made that fateful comment in Glasgow. Maggie, remind me, what was the occasion? What choir were you singing with?
I sing with the Glasgow School of Art choir, and Manda MacLeod, who is a friend and colleague, is on our board of directors and also helps us along with our choir director, Jamie Sansbury. So,
and Maggie, did you have a question for Charlotte?
I did, and it's more actually in connection with not with practice and singing, but and it's a kind of saint and sinner vibe to this question. So what would be your tip, or what's the best tip you've been given for looking after your voice out with the actual singing? And then the reverse of that, what's your naughtiest indulgence that doesn't necessarily help your voice?
Great question.
So the looking after the voice, it has to be water. Has to be water. If you're thirsty, it's too late. Yeah, so you have to start in the morning with your hydration, and you know, it takes hours for that water to get where it needs to go. So, like I say, if you've got a rehearsal or a performance, then you need to up your intake only a little bit, but you do need to up it, and equally as important afterwards as well, to keep everything hydrated. That it took me a long time to actually, I knew it, but to actually act upon it, and the difference was huge.
Yeah, I'm still working on that one, but that's
hard, isn't it? It's hard. And I get bored of water as well, if I'm totally honest. So I do things like I put a lime in, or I put a strawberry in, or some mint or something, to sort of take away that boredom. I'm a tea drinker, I'm afraid, and I love a cup of tea. Oh, I love a cup of tea. So I do try and sort of stick my water in there as well, though. Especially if I've got a day of teaching. If you use your voice a lot, if you're a teacher or you do public speaking or anything like that, it's really, really important. But equally, you know, as we go through the menopause, as we gentlemen, as we get older as well, the menopause in particular really dries us out. So really, really important, ladies, to keep that hydration going. Yes, my naughtiest indulgent. Do you know, it has to be going to the pub and having a chat in a loud pub, just a good old catch up and a good old laugh and a natter in a noisy pub, which, you know, is absolutely exhausting for the voice, but it's really good for the soul. And that's what I miss. But, you know, and also then getting the chips on the way home. That probably doesn't help either. Greasy chips, lying down, bit of acid reflux. Oh,
you're painting a lovely picture, Charlotte. Now we've got quite an international audience here, and we've just been called out for a Britishism. Now I love it when this happens.
Oh gosh.
Stacey doesn't know what a natter is. Could you explain to Stacey what a natter is, please?
Oh really? Oh my goodness. Oh, a good old chat, a good old catch up, a good, you know, not gossip. It's not gossip. It's a catch up. It's it's, you know, what you do with your best friend over a cup of tea.
I love that. It happens every now and again. What would we got? I think we got called out for saying riff-raff or faffing. Faffing, yes, we got called out for saying faffing a few weeks ago. Nobody knew what that meant if they weren't from the UK. So there you go. Every day's a school day. You're not just learning about vocal health and vocal technique. I'd like to go to Avril next, if I may. Avril had a lovely wrappy-uppy question, and I know there are a few people here who haven't had a chance to speak from our Zoom room. Do put a message in the chat if you feel your question hasn't already been answered, but I've been keeping an eye and doing a little tally, so hopefully everybody feels satisfied. But Avril had a lovely question to wrap up, which is, once you've learnt all of this stuff, how on earth do you remember it when you're going on singing Star Carol at a tremendous pace? Avril, I'm putting words into your mouth. Do you want to ask your question yourself?
Hi. Actually, I was asking about, do you have any tips for breathing and diction when singing this carol? Because it's a very fast carol, and it's quite easy to trip over the words.
Absolutely. So a couple of things. Practice saying those words, practice saying them in rhythm, and bring that text right to the front. So we're using our forward articulator, so the tip of the tongue and the lips. I'm sure Jamie gives you all sorts of tongue twister type things. It's those that we're looking for, really. Okay. Yeah, I hope that's helpful, but definitely practice saying it, and practice saying it too fast as well, because then when you bring it back to the speed that it's supposed to be, it feels like a walk in the park.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, Avril. And Rachel's just posted in the chat. Great. Oh, hello. I'll just take the spotlight away. Rachel's posted in the chat that was a great question. How do you remember everything when you're actually standing up on stage, and perhaps you have a conductor, as Cindy says, who might give stern and demanding looks? How do you stop everything just flying out the window?
It's a mindset. It's a mindset. It's knowing that, like I said about doing the Allegri, I know it's there. I know it will work. I've practiced it. I know what I need to do with my setup, and I've practiced it enough that I know that it will happen, and trusting and believing in that. And also trusting and believing that we are our own worst enemies, aren't we? We're our worst. We judge ourselves so much, and actually those people that are sat in the audience, they just want to have a nice time and hear some lovely music sung well, and to see you having a nice time as well. And that's the thing that I hold on to. when I stand up and I think, and I, you know, even if I'm thinking, oh, not feeling 100% on this tonight, I look out and I just think, this is for these people. This is why I'm here. This is why it's so difficult for us at the moment, because we don't have those people. But we have to imagine that those people are there, and we have to do it for ourselves, because actually singing is such a selfless thing. We're giving all the time. And actually, do you know what? Why not just give a little bit to yourself and just give yourself that real pleasure, and, you know, all those endorphins that are released when we sing, allow that to happen and allow that feel good factor to come through, because by Jove, we all need it, don't we?
What a wonderful thought to finish this session on. At the end of the day, you know, music is all about, you know, making you feel better and making the people who you're giving your gift of music to feel better as well. And we are too often hard on ourselves. And I hope that everybody in the Zoom room tonight and everybody watching on YouTube is really going to take that to heart, actually, because, you know, Jamie and I spend a lot of time looking through the chats and talking to singers in sessions, and Rachel and the rest of the team spend a lot of time talking to people on email. And a theme that comes through is that everybody is so committed to making music, and everybody is so dedicated to doing a good job that sometimes they do forget to give that little bit extra to themselves and to be forgiving and understanding. We've gone through such a tricky time, all of us, and the way you summed that up, Charlotte, was just beautiful. And I really hope you'll take this to heart, everybody, because it's such a wonderful way to put it. Charlotte, thank you so much for joining us in this session. It's been a real pleasure to have you, and to hear, you know, new ways of looking at old techniques, and new things to think about and bring into our practice as we go ahead to learn this piece. And I hope that you'll maybe join us in a rehearsal sometime to say hello. And certainly we are so grateful to the 16 for their support of all of our projects, and particularly for you joining us tonight.
Oh, well, thank you so much for having me. It's been an absolute joy and an honour to have been here. So thank you. And I will absolutely come and join you for a session. I'd love to come and join you for a rehearsal. So thank you so much. It's been wonderful.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us, everybody. Thank you for joining us. And thank you for joining